Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Moving Markets Podcast. My name is Jeffrey Dunyan, the owner and founder of Safe Option Strategies. Glad to have you here on a Friday afternoon. The U.S. stock market has been closed for just almost 2 hours at the time that we're recording this. NVIDIA dominated the news this week. We're going to talk, kind of recap the week and what went on, but specifically talk about what NVIDIA did yesterday and today. We didn't have a podcast yesterday. I was traveling, so we didn't get to talk about NVIDIA after the gigantic move it made on Thursday and the unbelievable monster earnings that they had. But we'll get into that today. Talk about some other tech stocks that might be worth keeping an eye on, some other stocks that play in that same sandbox with NVIDIA. NVIDIA is getting too big for that sandbox and for a lot of people unaffordable. I, for one, am hopeful that NVIDIA makes a big stock split coming up soon. I would love to see 8 for 1, 10 for 1, 20 for 1 stock split. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but I'm hoping. Make sure you take a minute to check us out on sostrades.com. For those members of our program who subscribe to one of our services or have purchased one of our education packages, the trades that we send out to them each and every week, if they follow those trades exactly the way we send out, they're up over 21% in their portfolio. And we're not even at the end of the month of February yet. Remember that those returns start to compound. And even if you averaged 20% every 2 months, when you start compounding that, it makes a lot more than that. Last year, the members of our program that followed all the trades we sent out did 114% return in their portfolio. If you want to take advantage of those kind of gains, make sure you check us out at sostrades.com. If you want to just keep getting some information for free, getting this update, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, give us a like, send us a comment or a question. And I hope you thoroughly enjoy today's presentation. Thanks, everyone. Well, as you can see, the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P 500 both today finished at new all-time highs. I think that's a high finish for the Dow, although I think it has ticked higher than that before. All-time high finish for the S&P 500. The NASDAQ sold off a little bit today. The NASDAQ had an interesting day. Started out really, really strong on the backs of more upward movement by NVIDIA. The NASDAQ took off to the upside, but it just gradually gave up those gains and then went negative around 11 o'clock Eastern time. And then it came back up and got a little bit positive again, kind of flat for most of the day, and then sold off gradually starting about 1:30, just kind of a steady slide to the downside, not a real tragic deep slide to the downside. But a lot of those companies, Microsoft, Apple, AMD, some of these companies, Micron, that kind of ride on the backs of NVIDIA, were doing good this morning and then sold off a little bit, and it even dragged NVIDIA down a little bit. NVIDIA still managed to finish in the green today, but by very much. They actually finished up $2.79, having at one point in time, you can see on this chart, they absolutely took off to the upside, and then just kind of sold off throughout the day and sort of gave it all up, went negative for a little while, then got back into positive territory, and then finished just barely positive. I think there was a lot of profit taking on NVIDIA today, plain and simple. You've got people that have made a small fortune. I count myself amongst the millions of people that wishes I would have got into NVIDIA and just sat on some leap long calls or bought some stock when it was low price and affordable. Look at this. Look at if we go back to let's go back to maybe a 5-year chart on NVIDIA. And yeah, I mean, how many of us right now today don't wish that 5 years ago we would have bought shares of NVIDIA down under $50 a share and been on this incredible ride over the past 5 years? I mean, if I think about every dime I had to trade with 5 years ago, if I would have sunken into NVIDIA at that time and just let it ride, I'd be kind of crazy wealthy right now and retired. And I would still be doing this for Safe Option Strategies because I love doing this, but wouldn't have another care in the world right now when it relates to money. Just an incredible ride. And even just in the last year and 2 months, This thing has gone from 150 up over $800 a share. Now I know it's finished a little bit below that today, but up over $800 a share. Absolutely incredible run by Nvidia. Um, Somebody at JP Morgan Chase said this is the most significant stock that exists right now. They kind of implied that the world revolves around Nvidia right now. And, it's been a member of what's been termed the Magnificent Seven for a little while, but it's very possibly before the end of the year, it's going to overtake Microsoft and Apple as the two largest market cap companies. I think it just recently overtook Amazon. And I don't know if that puts it firmly in third place or if I'm forgetting about someone that's there in third place, but I think before the end of this year, it's going to be trading above $1,000 a share, and it will overtake um, both Apple and Microsoft to be the highest market cap company in the world. Absolutely phenomenal, absolutely unbelievable. And it's really in a week that had a handful of things going on. Everything else that happened this week was just completely and totally dwarfed by what NVIDIA did. Yesterday, and well, let me back up before I talk about yesterday. The thing that was so impressive about NVIDIA is that expectations had become so crazy high for this company that the little bit of sell-off they had going into the earnings report was largely people that just did not believe NVIDIA could once again live up to the hype. You had 4 days in a row of selling activity that took NVIDIA from 740 down to 660. That's $80 a share that they lost in just a matter of 3-4 days leading into that earnings report. And people really believe there's not a way for this company to once again blow out the expectations and have an amazing earnings event and shatter revenue and shatter profitability and guide well and they did all of that. They reported after the market closed and they absolutely knocked it out of the park. Every single facet of this business is on fire right now, and it shows no signs of stopping. The whole world wants to use AI for whatever it is they're doing. If you're selling groceries, if you're selling cars and trucks, if you are providing a service, some counseling service or some accounting service or whatever it is, everyone wants to use AI to find ways to improve the efficiency of what it is they're doing and be more profitable in what they're doing. And nobody is better poised right now to make these chips that are going to power it than NVIDIA. I don't know that they have a monopoly because they've got competitors. They've got Intel, they've got AMD, they've got Micron, a much more affordable stock that a lot of people think can ride the coattails of Nvidia, but it's just plain and simply more affordable for a lot of people is AMD. They gave up a little bit today. It was kind of weird. I don't know what the cause of their sell-off was today, but this is another company that's been incredibly strong. I mean, just in the last 3 months, they've gone from 95 up to $180 a share. They're up 100% in the last. I said 3 months. I meant 4 months. 4 months ago, they had a close. Let me show you this for those of you that are watching the video. For those that aren't watching the video, I've just got a 6-month chart up of NVIDIA, and if I go back and circle this day, I believe that would have been. I'm going to say right around October 27th, 28th, maybe. AMD closed below $95 a share. Okay, that's a little bit less than 4 months ago. They closed yesterday above 180. Now they gave up some of that and were closer to 175 at the close today, 175, 176.52 at the close today. But they closed the day before a little over 180. That's over 100% growth in just 4 months. I mean, this is just the growth that some of these companies are experiencing is just absolutely phenomenal. Micron is another company that I believe has the ability to ride those coattails of NVIDIA. Don't count Intel out. I know Intel has had some issues and some struggles and been kind of a back and forth stock, but Micron is another one. Not the same growth percentage, but 6 months ago, Micron was trading at $64 a share. And a few weeks ago, it finished up at 89, had a little bit of a sell off, and now it's moving up towards 89, $90 a share again. That's still, I mean, you're still talking about more than a 50% move in the last 6 months. And these companies making these microchips and these processors for the use in AI, along with companies like Microsoft, Amazon, some others that are Google that are utilizing the AI to enhance their businesses and do more for people. These companies, you know, all the warnings you hear about getting out of the tech sector, and the tech sector has led for a long enough period of time. I, don't listen to it. Don't buy into that. And now, as much as ever, is a time to be leveraged into the tech sector and making money off of it. There's no reason not to. I don't expect this to end anytime soon. Look for opportunities. The little bit of a pullback on AMD today, I think, is a phenomenal opportunity. Again, for those that are watching video, AMD's got a pretty strong level of support right at 175, and it went down and touched a little bit below that today, and then came back up and finished above 176. I think AMD has the ability to be a $250 stock before the end of this year, and that's not doubling in the next 10 months, but it's an awfully good gain. And I would not be shocked if AMD made it to $300 a share before the end of the year. Even that is not doubling, but it's certainly something that I believe could happen. If you want a much more affordable way to take advantage of what's going on, it's not easy to own Nvidia shares right now at $800 a share. The idea of owning 100 shares is daunting for some people. They simply do not have that much money they could put into a stock like that. It's a little too risky for some people to strictly play options on it, although that is a more affordable way to play it. But AMD is a company that a lot of people could own some shares of. At $175 a share, 300 shares of AMD, it's still about a $53,000 investment. For more people, that's affordable and doable and something that they could manage and something they could handle. By the way, I won't own a stock unless I can own 300 shares of it. So if I can't own 300 shares, I'm not interested. And if you want to know why, make sure you go to sostrades.com, sign up for one of our programs, and learn about the rule of 300. There's a way you can trade taller trades using the rule of 300 that is almost risk-free. It's not 100% risk-free, but it's almost risk-free, and it has incredibly minimal risk for periods of time, and it's the best way to leverage into more and more ownership of a company. So check it out on SOS Trades, and you'll know why I will not own a company that I can't own at least 100 shares, or at least 300 shares of. So look, I said enough about NVIDIA. There's not much more that can be added to that. If you have the ability to own some shares or get into some long call contracts that aren't terribly expensive, I think you got to do it. If you want something a little more affordable, Micron, AMD would be my next two top choices for companies that will take advantage of this continuing move up in the tech sector and specifically the chip sector. Regular full week next week. We'll have lots to go over and lots to talk about each and every day next week. So make sure you tune in and join us for the podcast when it drops each day after the market closes. Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you back next week.